Several years after Count Dracula's defeat, London is beginning to feel the uneasy calm of a city that has survived a dark past. Yet beneath the surface, Mina Harker senses that the shadow of the vampire is not entirely gone. She is haunted by strange dreams and unsettling feelings, as if something from the past is tugging at her soul. Despite Jonathan Harker's attempts to comfort her, she cannot shake the memory of the Count, nor the lingering sense that Dracula's influence may still be alive within her. She tries to live a normal life, but each night brings visions that leave her restless and fearful. Meanwhile, a string of bizarre deaths begins to unsettle London. Victims are found drained of blood, their bodies strangely untouched otherwise. The authorities dismiss these deaths as coincidental or the work of a serial killer, but Dr. John Seward, now older and more experienced, immediately suspects something far more sinister. He contacts his old allies and fellow vampire hunters, including Van Helsing's daughter, who has inherited her father's knowledge and expertise. Together, they begin to investigate the killings, tracing clues and discovering evidence of a dark, ancient presence that has returned to the city. Mina, tormented by visions of Dracula, reaches out to a young journalist who has a keen interest in the supernatural. He becomes an ally, using his investigative skills to uncover records and testimonies suggesting that Dracula's death years ago may have been only temporary. He discovers references to a secret network of followers who remained loyal to Dracula, waiting for the day he might return. Mina begins to fear that her connection to the Count, once dormant, may be awakening. She experiences sudden urges and fleeting visions that link her to Dracula's past, revealing details of his previous encounters with her that she had tried to bury. The group learns of a society of vampire hunters formed in the wake of Dracula's first defeat. These hunters. Back in London, the city is beginning to feel the unease that Mina had feared. Reports of strange deaths multiply, and the pattern of victims drained of blood becomes impossible to ignore. Panic spreads quietly through certain circles of society, though the general public remains unaware of the true threat. Mina and Jonathan Harker, aware that Dracula's influence has returned home, reunite with their old allies, Dr. John Seward, Van Helsing's daughter, and the young journalist who has been aiding Mina. Together, they examine the new murders, noting that Dracula appears to be targeting individuals connected to those who originally opposed him. This is not merely a campaign of revenge, it is a deliberate effort to weaken the forces that could challenge him. Mina's psychic connection to Dracula intensifies. She begins experiencing vivid visions, seeing him move through the city, subtly manipulating events and people to his advantage. The visions are both a blessing and a curse, they provide warning, but also expose her to Dracula's influence. Sometimes she feels drawn to him, as though a dark part of her still belongs to the vampire. These moments of temptation terrify her, yet she begins to realize that her connection can also serve as a tool, allowing her to sense danger and anticipate Dracula's moves. The group uncovers evidence that Dracula has been preparing a ritual involving Mina herself. He intends to use her psychic link to amplify his power, creating a direct channel to England that will allow him to dominate influential figures and expand his reach. This revelation shocks Jonathan and the allies, for it means Mina's life is once again at the center of Dracula's schemes. They quickly recognize that they must act before the ritual can be completed. Their investigation leads them through the shadowed corners of London, from abandoned crypts to the grand homes of nobles who have been unwittingly turned into agents of Dracula. Each step of the way, they encounter. Dracula's lair beneath London is a shadowy labyrinth of tunnels, crypts, and ancient chambers. The air is thick with dampness and the smell of decay, a chilling reminder of the vampire's centuries-long existence. Mina, Jonathan, and their allies, Dr. Seward, Van Helsing's daughter, and the journalist, descend carefully, aware that every step could lead to death or worse. Mina's psychic connection to Dracula grows stronger here, she senses his presence, feels his power pressing on her mind, and occasionally glimpses moments of his dark plans. These visions guide them, revealing hidden passages and traps, but they also test her resolve, as the vampire tries to manipulate her thoughts and emotions. As they navigate the labyrinth, they encounter Dracula's followers, vampires who have been trained and strengthened under his influence. These creatures are faster, stronger, and more ruthless than any they faced before. The team engages in fierce battles, combining traditional vampire fighting methods like stakes, garlic, and holy symbols with strategy and quick thinking. Mina's visions prove invaluable, often warning them of ambushes or showing the paths through deadly corridors. Yet each confrontation exacts a toll, some allies are injured, and the fear of failure constantly looms over them. The group discovers that Dracula has been experimenting with ways to increase his own power. Using occult knowledge and ancient vampire rituals, he strengthens himself and his newly transformed followers, making them more resistant to traditional methods of attack. Mina realizes that Dracula's ultimate goal is not merely revenge or survival, but the creation of a vampire dynasty, with new generations loyal to him. The stakes are higher than ever, and failure is no longer an option. Mina must face a direct psychic struggle with Dracula. He attempts to dominate her mind, appealing to fear, desire, and curiosity. Mina fights to retain her humanity, drawing on memories of Jonathan, her afar. The group descends into the heart of Dracula's lair, the final chamber of his subterranean fortress. The space is cavernous, filled with shadows and the relics of centuries, ancient coffins, ceremonial objects, and symbols of dark power etched into the stone walls. The air is heavy and suffocating, a tangible manifestation of the vampire's influence. Mina, Jonathan, Dr. Seward, Van Helsing's daughter, and the journalist move carefully, aware that a single mistake could be fatal. Mina feels Dracula's presence like a dark pressure, his will attempting to reach her mind even from a distance. Yet she draws upon her inner strength, focusing on the connection she shares with Jonathan and her friends to resist his manipulations. Dracula's followers, newly transformed and fiercely loyal, appear to block their path. The group engages in brutal combat, using stakes, holy water, and quick reflexes to fight back. Mina's psychic visions provide crucial warnings, revealing the movements of the vampires and the layout of the treacherous tunnels. Every step is fraught with danger, and the allies are forced to rely on each other to survive. The tension is almost unbearable, as they navigate traps, evade ambushes, and face the constant threat of Dracula himself, whose power seems to loom over every corner. Finally, they confront Dracula in the ceremonial chamber where he plans to complete the ritual that would cement his dominion over England. He is more powerful than ever, exuding an aura of menace and authority that shakes even the bravest of the allies. Dracula attempts to dominate Mina, seeking to turn her into a conduit for his power. He appeals to her fear, her memories of past encounters, and even her curiosity, trying to bend her will to his. Mina resists, drawing on her psychic insight, her love for Jonathan, and her knowledge of the vampire's weaknesses. She realizes that her connection to Dracula can be weaponized, disrupting his concentration and weakening his control.